and then going to work the rest of the week. Then Sunday finally rolled around. And as I know, I'm like, yeah, finally I don't have to go to work. And I don't have to go to church either. So my mom, my cute mom, and my wonderful father, they tried to get me to go again. I declined, fought against them, did everything I could to say no. And so then I go back to sleep. I just roll over, right? And I'm laying on the floor with my shirt off in shorts in front of the TV. Stayed up all night gaming. Probably had about 3 hours of sleep under my belt at that time. So I was grumpy that they tried to wake me up. And so I hear my name and I look up. And I see my friend from the store. I'm just going to call him Jay. I see Jay and I'm like, what in the heck are you doing? And he said, your mom let me in so I could wake you up and we can go to church. And he was dressed in a tie. And I rolled my eyes and I was like, oh my gosh, no. No. That's not going to work, bud. So I declined. He was persistent. And so at this point, I'm like, you know what? I haven't showered yet. My clothes aren't clean. You know, using every excuse I can think of. And I took as long as possible trying to drag this on so that we would miss sacrament meeting. And so he actually told me, he's like, no, I actually came over earlier because I thought you might try something like this. And I was like, dude. And then he said, I told him I don't want to go to dumb church. And he was like, but dude, there's singles. I said, singles? What's that? He's like, the singles word. You've never heard of a singles word? And I was like, what? And so I thought, okay, single girls. Okay. Maybe this might be okay. So I get up. He gives me one of his ties. Helps me get out the door. We head up. And we sit down in the pew. And I just remember feeling so awkward sitting down. And it was just so quiet. And all these weird looking young men. You know, typical Mormons. And a few pretty girls, some not, some so. And I think it lasted about 20 minutes before I got up. Like right before sacrament meeting, I got up, walked out, went outside, sat down. My friend came up and was like, why'd you leave? And I said, nah, it's just not my thing. Anyway, so I can't remember exactly how he got me to come back inside, but I did. And then first hour happened. And so I refused to go back in. I went back out after sacrament meeting. And I said, I'm done. I'm not going anymore. And so I waited by his car until 3 hours passed, like 3-hour church. He came out. So now skipping forward another week of work with this guy, we've been pretty close, hanging out, you know, just having a good time. He convinces me to stay after till second hour, and I said, no way. And so I skipped again. Another week passes, still hanging out with my friend. And then I actually stayed for the full first hour without walking out. And I slowly felt this feeling that I really needed to go to second hour for some reason. So I did. And it's Word Missionary Prep class. Guess who's teaching it? Jay, my friend. Jay's teaching it. And I was like, what the heck? He's like, I'm the Word Mission Leader. That's my calling. And I was like, oh, I see what you're doing now. Anyway, so he taught the restoration of the gospel. And I'll make another video of the restoration. I'll go through all the missionary teachings and explain them in detail for those who are not LDS can understand. Anyway, so, or you can just go ask local missionaries. It's your choice. Anyway, so I I was called upon, and they were teaching about when Joseph Smith saw God in Jesus Christ. And this wave of warmth came over me, and I felt so warm. And I felt this feeling that I wasn't alone. I don't know how to describe it. And I literally felt like I was going to catch fire. It was the most warm feeling ever. When he called on me, I can't remember anything, and I don't remember much about the story of Joseph Smith at that time. I tried to explain it, and it was kind of terrible the way I explained it. It wasn't accurate enough, but it was accurate enough for me to say it out loud, for the Spirit to talk to me, to teach me something. And so I left after second hour was done, and my friend spontaneously called on me to do that, and I got mad at him. I remember walking with him in the park, and I said, "Jay, do not do that again to me. You embarrassed me. I don't know anything." And I just started ranting. I don't know the gospel. I don't know Mormonism. I don't even know what the Book of Mormon is. And he looked at me with this look of like, "Oh, really?" And I was like, crap. Anyway, so we spent 30 minutes walking around in a circle near like this park. And we were walking, we did a lot of walks, me and that friend. And we were walking around, and he was explaining to me a little bit about the Book of Mormon. How it's another testament of Jesus Christ, and how it came to be, and la-di-la-di-la-di-la. And he was surprised that I didn't know any of that. I probably did know it. My parents did do family meetings. I just probably didn't understand it. Or maybe I didn't have a desire to. I don't know. But it's not my parents' fault. It's my fault for not wanting to understand it. So I remember being curious, wanting to feel that feeling again. And so I opened up the Book of Mormon, and I made a goal. There's a scripture in one of the last books called Moroni. It's got a promise in it. It's Moroni chapter 10. And then the verses go on to say that, don't take my word for this. If it's not true, ask God. There's a scripture in James, if any of you lack wisdom, let him ask of God, that giveth to all men liberally, and it upbraideth not, and it shall be given him. Sorry. A little bit fuzzy, a little tired. Anyway, so I thought to myself, I do lack wisdom. Is this really the only option I have? I don't know, but I want to feel that feeling again. And so I actually I remember the next 2 days after, I hung out with my friend Jay every single day. We went on walks, and he taught me the missionary lessons. He was a missionary to me. He taught me the doctrines. He taught me everything, every question I had, every single thing. He held my hand through the whole thing. And I had another friend, I'll just call him B. He was in a different state at the time. And we never really talked religion, me and B. And so talking with Jay was very different. It was a very different friendship. And you know, I recall being really stressed, and I was hanging out with the wrong crowds while my friend was up in another state. And sorry, I'm shaking. You know, I got into smoking, got into tobacco, was doing some dumb things. You know, started vaping to stop. I remember when he got to the word of wisdom, it made me feel guilty. You know, I knew it was wrong, but I couldn't stop. That's another video for another day, but I did eventually stop, and I haven't touched nicotine in years. I can't even describe. But anyway, so he taught me the lessons. Next week, 5 days, you know, that coming Sunday, we go to church, and I get a call from this bishop. He says, "Hey, I want to meet with you." And I said, "Fudge. No, I'm not coming." So I didn't. Next week rolls around. "Hey, I need to talk to you." I said, "Okay, fine. What do you want?" He said, "I have a calling for you." I said, "Oh my gosh, no. I don't need one of your callings. You know, you're not going to trap me. I'm convinced that callings are for people who need help. So if you have a calling and you're all proud of it, you probably need more spirituality." Anyway, not the point. So I roll in the bishop's office. I asked my friend Jay to take me early. And, you know, I can see him, his fat suit, hunched over like a donut over the table, looks at me and goes,